Alright, so first let's take a look of all the layers we have here. We got a lot of layers. So I'm gonna select all of them and hide so we can go through the nearby layers. So first we have our background. Okay. And then we have our character in front, which is 1710, 1720. So let me show you the original footage. So that's 1720 and 21. So basically, this one is an empty shot. Okay, so I can use it as the background. And for this one, I have the green screen. Okay. Because our screen is not long enough, so we just have two guys in the back and to hold this green screen to walk with our character. And then what we did is we get rid of the green color background and use mask to mask out these areas, right? So we'll have a clean character. However, we need to fill the background area, so that's why we have this background. So this will be placed in the background. Okay, so you got the concept, and then here we can place anything in the center, right? So here we have this UFO. It's crashed, and as you can see, I created a mask to mask out the the cracks and other unrelated things. And then I have another layer just for the fire, and I added a glow effect on it. And then here in the background I have the buildings. Okay, and I got the fire, and I have a smoke in between. Okay, and building block on this side, and a small fire inside of the house, in the window. One more building, one more layer, and a fire inside of there. So basically for these fires, you'll just have to create a mask to mask out here, this boundary. Okay, so for all of the fires, I set the blending mode as a screen. And then I add one more layer of smoke on top of it. And then I create this adjustment layer for lens layer. As you can see, these areas are blurred out, and here's still very sharpened. That's because I created a mask. Okay, a mask on this whole adjustment layer. So the occlusion blur only affect on this area. Alright, so we have our UFO and then our foreground character. And then is a adjustment layer for the color. So we narrow down the saturation and make it more kind of grayish color. And then on top of that, we have a glow effect, not glow, the particles. And then you can place any foreground if you want. Okay, so this is the whole thing, and now let's go step by step. So first we're going to select this one. Okay, 1720, 21. Okay, I'm going to rename it Philo. Okay, here's it. And then we're going to drop in our 1720 footage in here. So we have two of them. And again, as you can see, right, the lighting changes every second. So whenever you go filming outdoor, you want it to be sunny weather or super cloudy. You don't want the weather like this, so it's a partial cloudy, and the lights will change dramatically. Okay. However, it doesn't affect a lot, so we can still get it to work. So for this layer, let me turn off the sound. For this layer, first we're going to get a key light effect. drop on it, and we're going to pick a color to key. So we're going to pick up the middle term green. Okay, and you can increase the strength, and we can keep the screen balance at this. And for a screen matte, you can lower down the clip white and increase the clip black a little bit so we can get some value back. Okay, and let's see, this is without, this is after. Okay, since we don't need those areas, so that's fine if the color is not realistic. And then we can play with the screen balance. I think 0 would be better. See, if we set at 0, we can still keep the original color. Alright, so now we can create a mask. So we're gonna select this layer. Okay, and since our character is constantly moving, so maybe we can start at this point, and I'm going to crop this area, and I'm going to bring it to the beginning. Okay, so here we can maybe we can just start with a square. Okay, so this is square. We're going to use it to mask out our character, and then we're going to go to here, mask shape and mask path, create a keyframe, and then when he's almost get out of this square, just go to the selection tool, double click here and move it, and as you move it, you're going to create another keyframe. So basically we're going to have this mask to track our character. Okay, so you're going to follow this process to get the mask to follow our character. And this is how it looks in the end. Okay, so we have this mask to track our character, and then with this layer still selected, we can go back to our pen tool, and then what we'll do is we'll create a mask. So subtract this area, subtract this area. Okay, so maybe we can start from this side. So we can just start to draw a mask. Okay, for demonstration purpose, I just move a little bit fast. I will not go to the details. Okay, so the concept is I'm going to get rid of this area, and then here for the mask type, I'm going to do subtract. So it's going to subtract this area, and I also go underneath this mask and create a path keyframe for the path, and then at here I want it to follow. So I'm going to switch the selection tool and double click on any of the point. So I'm selected all of the points. Okay. And then everything looks fine because here has a little. So we can, let's see, come here, bring it to here, and then after here we can, manually keyframe these points to get rid of the black color noise. So some of you asked the question earlier that you cannot move individual points. So for the mask, if the points is showing in square, that means the points is selected. So here you can see all of the points are showing square. So all of the points are selected. So definitely you cannot move individual point. For example, here the points is showing in red in circles, so that is unselected. And in that case, you can grab each individual points, right? So to deal with this issue, it's very easy. You just have to click on any empty spot, right? So it will be unselected, and then you can move these dots, and then you should be able to manually position them, and then next the keyframe, and then just move it and follow, and next keyframe and move it and follow. Okay, so you're going to follow this process to go through the whole thing and make sure there's no noise spilled on there. Okay, and for this side, we're going to deal with this black edge. So this is due to here. If I go to the original footage, here we go. So because of the shadow of the cloth, here we have a hard edge, the black color here, right? So we can use the pen tool, and we can, maybe here we need more points because later on he will move and we want our mask to follow. And I want to follow this structure, this block here. And for this mask, we're going to do subtract. Okay, so you're going to subtract that area. Oops, I think. Make sure you create the mask from the beginning. So here, just manually move this whole thing to here. Hit return key to confirm the change, and then reposition these points. Okay, so we're gonna start here. So we're gonna create a keyframe, and then comes here. So here we're going to bring them forward, and then forward. Alright, so this is the final result. As you can see, as our character walk, the background is very clean and there's no noise around. And for the ground, only the area that is close to the character's foot is showing up, and we have the feather around the edge, so it's realistic. So for another mask, I forgot to set the feather, but for your project, make sure to set the feather so you have more realistic masking. Okay, so now let me show you the mask I have. So this red mask is basically the square I created. Okay, so it's basically the square I just created earlier. Okay, so this mask, the mode is add, so it's going to add the contents that are inside of the mask, and all of the other masks. Okay, all of the masks, their mode is subtract, so you're going to subtract any contents inside of the mask. Okay, and the purpose for this mask is to mask out the noise that we don't want in the scene. As you can see, I create keyframes, I move frame by frame, move these points frame by frame to get rid of the noise. And there's one thing I have to highlight is here, how to keyframe these masks. For example, if I take a look of, okay, this blue mask, which is right now is in the bottom, so I use this mask to mask out any of the noise that is between our character necks. But in the beginning, as you can see, there's nothing between the character's necks, so I don't need that mask. Okay, so what I did is, for the first keyframe, I just move the mask, the entire mask outside of the frame. Okay, and then next to it, I create a keyframe and I bring the all the points up. Okay, so just frame next to frame. Okay, because at this frame, between the character's neck, see, there's some noise I want to get rid of. Okay, so I just start at this frame, and one frame before that, I move the mask out of the frame. So that way, you can keep use this mask. See here, it move up and then follow our character. And once I'm done with it, next to this frame. I just move it out, and then let's see, about a few frames here we need to use it again. Okay, so next frame I bring up and then follow the next movement. Okay, as I'm done with it, I just move it out. Okay, so that's how I kind of use these keyframes to position the mask. Okay, so after you get the mask finished, let me delete this layer. So here we're going to have our foreground, which is our character, and then we have the background. So the reason why we film our character, in the environment with the green screen is because the lighting direction and everything is pretty much the same, so it's more realistic. If you film your character in the green screen room, and then you have to deal with the lighting and you have to deal with the color correction, right? So for most of the cases, this is much easier. Okay, so now as totally separated layers, so we can place any contents between them. For example, you can here you can drop in any of the buildings you want and place it in the background. And for the building, if I solo this layer, you can see the background is in white color, so we can use a color range, drop it on the image and select the white color. Okay, and you may increase the fuzziness a little bit, so that is the intensity of this effect. Okay, and then we're going to scale it down, and we can place it any place you want. Okay, for demonstration purpose, I'll just place a few of them, and maybe this one here. And I can also get transform and flip horizontal, so it's aiming to this side. And we can just go to the effect here, copy the effect and paste it here. Alright, so these are the buildings. And then we can drop in the fire we have in the scene. And for the blending mode, change it to screen. And we can place it in the background and maybe make it smaller. And here you can see for the fire it has a hard edge, so we can use a mask to mask out the bottom. And here for the type, we're going to use subtract, and we're going to increase the feather. Here we go. Okay, and you can duplicate this layer, and you can add a glow effect on it and play with this setting. Okay, and you can also play with the keyframes, if you want it flashing. Okay, so you can repeat this pattern, keep keyframing that, but I'll just duplicate frames. So here you can add the fire kind of flashing. Okay, and then on top of it, you can add a adjustment layer. And here you can see fire 1, heat wave. Okay, so for this one, we can add a turbulence displace. And we can increase the amount and drop down the size, so we can create some turbulence for the fire. And we can create a keyframe for the offset, which is this the point for the turbulence. and then go to this effect. Okay, at end of this composition, we can move the offset. By default, you're going to create a keyframe, so we're going to have these effects. Okay, and we're going to use the ellipse tool to crop to create a mask of this heat whip, and we can go to the mask and increase the feather, maybe more. Okay, so you can repeat this technique and to place the fire on other places. And also, if you want the fire inside of the hole, you'll just have to, for example, if I drop it here, so you'll just create a mask for it. Okay, so here I'm going to change the blending mode to screen first, place it here, and then you can select it and use the pen tool and draw a rough mask. Okay, maybe more. Okay, so for the mask type, choose add. So the fire will be inside of the house, and we can select it and add more. For example, here we can add some, and maybe here add one. Okay, so that totally depends on how much detail you want in your scene. Okay, you can also select all of these masks and go to this feather and maybe 3, so you can feather out the boundary right here. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to add a green screen footage underneath our character, and we're going to use a key light 1.2 effect to get rid of the green counter background, and you can play with the intensity. Okay, and so here's the layer, and then as you can see, the fire and the space shape is on the same layer. However, we want to apply a glow effect on the fire, so it could be easier if we can separate the layers. Okay, so we'll make a duplication of the layer and hide the original layer. And for the duplicated layer, I'm gonna say UFO fire. Okay, and for this layer, I'm going to use the pen tool and I'm going to draw a rough mask. So you don't have to be accurate, we just want to mask out the shape. Okay, mask out the shape of the UFO. Okay, and then we're going to go to its mask and subtract. So this will be the fire, and we can also go to its mask of feather to increase the feather. Okay, something like this. And then we can go to this blending mode to screen. Okay, and then for the bottom layer is it is the original UFO with the fire. So for that layer, we can get rid of the fire, so we can also create a mask. So here we're going to create a mask around the UFO. And then go to his mask and mask a feather, increase the feather. Okay, and then 2 layers together. Here we go. Okay, and then here we're going to get a smoke. Okay, Okay, we can place a smoke underneath the UFO. Here let me solo this layer, and smoke coming out. Let's see. Okay, we can just start with here. Okay, and then we can use a key light effect. Oops, just drop it on it, and then we're going to get rid of the green color background, and then uncheck this layer. So for the smoke, I want it to be behind the UFO. Okay, so I'm gonna move it up. Let's place it like this, and let's see, maybe here. And we'll use a mask, okay, to mask out the border. And go to this mask and change the blending mode, change the mask type to add, and also the mask feather, increase it. Okay. So here we go. So that is behind this UFO, and in front of it, we can also add a smoke, which is this one, and we can make it bigger. And maybe we can go transform and flip it horizontal. And we can change the blending mode to screen. So here we go. Okay, so the color doesn't match. We can go to hue saturation, and we can change its hue until it matches with the color in the scene. Maybe yellowish color, and lower down the saturation. Here we go. Alright, and maybe lower down a little bit. Okay, and then we can also create a mask. Mask out this area. Oops. Select the smoke, use the mask tool to mask out this area, and change the mask type to add, and increase the mask feather. Okay, so we'll have 2 layers of smoke, and you can also create one more mask around here, because here it doesn't look natural. And we're going to go to subtract and increase the mask feather as well. Okay, and then you can add a smoke. So we can just duplicate the smoke. The smoke tool, we can duplicate and place it all the way to the top. Then here we can increase the scale, and I don't think I need the mask, so I can just delete this mask and can place it here, and maybe go to transform and flip it horizontally. So we have the smoke coming from different direction. Okay, and on top of everything, we can create an adjustment layer. Okay, and we can drop a hue saturation onto it and lower down the saturation a little bit. Okay, so let's see, and I think we have to add a lens blur because it's too sharpened. As you can see, the background is too sharpened, so we can add a adjustment layer, and I'm gonna say lens blur, and here we're going to add a blur effect, a Gaussian blur. Gonna increase the blur level, something like this, maybe just 6. Okay, and as you can see, here's the far away and here's the closer, so we want our camera to focus on this line. Okay, so what we can do is we can create a mask, draw a mask on the lens blur layer. Okay, and mask type as add, and then we can increase the feather, so we'll have a transition at here. Okay, so maybe lower down a little bit, maybe about 3 or 4. Okay, 4 looks better, because we don't want this UFO to be blurred out too much. Okay, so here we're going to say lens blur 1. Okay, and then we're going to create a new solid, a new adjustment layer, and we're going to say lens blur 2. And for lens blur 2, we can also drop a Gaussian blur on it and increase the blur level to about 4. And for this layer, we want to get rid of the UFO, so we can use a pen tool to draw a mask. Okay, and we can, let's see, we can go to the mask feather and we can increase the feather a little bit. Okay, so for the first one, maybe we can go to its Gaussian blur effect, and we can lower it down to 2. Okay, so it's sharper. And for the second one, and for the blurriness, we can increase it so the background is more blurred out, and here the UFO is clear. Okay, and we don't want our actor to be blurred out, so what we can do is we can move this to blur layer underneath our character. Okay, so here we go. And then I think our character is too contrasted. What we can do is we can apply a curve onto our character and just do a little color correction. So maybe for the dark color, I can just raise it a little bit. Oops. Okay, so if you're satisfied with the final result, you can go to the top menu and export to Adobe Media Encoder, and you can render your video there.